And I know, Matt, you have probably already set this up for yourself, but you often talk about there are pillars of polyamory that like help a relationship to be successful.
Yeah.
So what have you found to be the pillars that allow folks to actually successfully do it when they're in a good place or when they're like, we want to start doing it
Yeah.
and start doing it well?
Yeah. So the pillars of polyamory, right? I didn't coin the first four pillars. I sort of picked up on them throughout other sex therapists' phenomenal wisdom, but I did coin the last two. And so the first four pillars that we talk a lot about with polyamory is mutual respect, right? You have to have mutual respect for your partner, trust, right? You want to be able to insert trust and have that honesty, right? And then the fourth one is open communication, right? So that's what traditionally we would call these like pillars of polyamory. If we can hit open communication, if we can talk about stuff, if we can be honest with one another, if we can trust our partners, and if we can respect, right? Then I typically tell clients, okay, let's go ahead. Let's jump into this new structure.
Mm-hmm.
The two that I've added over the years, which I think are really important and really applicable to all relationship structures. The fifth one would be flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
right? You really, really want to be flexible within
Yeah.
your relationship structure. People evolve and change over time. And we can't expect our relationship to stay exactly where it was. You know, my partner, Jim and I have been together 8 years. We are not the same people we were back when we met in 2016, right? And then last one is curiosity. We need to
Mm-hmm.
get curious. You know, it's like a tattoo I tell all clients to get. I'm like, get the tattoo that just says like, get curious, because you
Yeah.
always want to ask questions, right? If your partner is approaching you with something and it's feeling like it's hitting your ego and your defense mechanisms are coming up, you want to sit and try your hardest to just get curious about where is my partner coming from here. So
Mm-hmm.
if we can engage in those pillars, then typically I'm like, okay, let's push into this.
Most definitely. Yeah, that's where I see the rub is if one of those are missing. And I appreciate that you bring up curiosity and flexibility. One, gosh, I use the word curiosity in all of my sessions every single day, all
Well,
the
we're
time, because
therapists,
we need
right? I'm
it.
curious
Yes,
about this.
all the time.
Yeah.
Please tell me more. But it's so important, right? Curiosity over challenge, right? To
Yeah.
show openness and willingness to learn. But especially flexibility, I have people come in and tell me, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I
Mm,
signed up for when I got
mm,
married XYZ
yeah.
years ago. And I'm like, I know that you had this agreement once upon a time, and we can't expect people to stay stagnant and static, right? Or we're,
Yeah.
like we're ever
We're
moving.
dynamic.
Exactly. And so that flexibility is so important to say,
Mhm.
okay, how does this change? And what's tricky is when people start making agreements and they say, well, I'm open to this level of
Mm,
openness, but not this. And that's
yeah.
totally fine, right? We can have, our ceiling or our boundaries, and our agreements.
Yeah.
And I will talk to clients about, I just want you to be so honest and authentic with yourselves of, let's just say it goes above that, like somebody
Mm,
wants more now, let's pre-plan, how do we want to handle that, right? Like there's so much pre-planning, and so if we can assume that people are going to change, and if they
yeah.
demonstrate flexibility, that's so great, because it's like, okay, if we can assume that something might change at some point and we
Mhm.
still feel good about it, oh good, let's go, let's move forward, let's see what happens, knowing that you can always close up the relationship and figure some shit out, and then you could always reopen it and get it going again.
110%. There's this fear that everything has to be perfect,
Yeah.
right? Like this has to be perfect. We cannot mess up in any way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
Uh, and so when I encourage people to set their boundaries, remember boundaries are for us, agreements are mutual, and rules is something one person sets and the other person abides by, right? And so this idea of people having anxiety, I try to show up and tell them, you're allowed to have anxieties in your relationship, right?
Hmm.
You're allowed to show up and be like, ooh, babe, this makes me really anxious. I don't know if I can agree to this, right? So it would be really cool if we could do X, Y, and Z, right? You don't like being poly doesn't mean like everything goes all the time, especially in the beginning. We're allowed to be nervous and anxious.
Yeah.
You know, when Jim and I opened up, he was the one that brought, like I said, he was the one that brought poly into our relationship structure. And I was like, okay, world is shattered. So we went to couples therapy, which is great, for about 6 to 8 months. And during that time, we just really hashed things out and just were going at it, not in like it really never got super confrontational. It was just like working through a lot of our anxieties, relationship structures, what we believed to be true. And when we were getting ready to open up, I placed all of these rules because I was so anxious. I was like, you're not allowed to have sex with anyone in our bed. This is our bed, right? We must use protection, right? No fluid bonding. Like, we can't go on dates, right? And, you know, he agreed. He actually agreed to some of those, but some he was like, okay, well, yeah, I guess. And I was like, this is what's going to help me right now, and if you can agree to that, then that allows me to step further in. And so that's what happened, right? He agreed. We had these rules in the beginning, and then they ended up melting away over time. And that doesn't happen for everybody, right? Not at all. But for me, how we continued to build our trust through honest and open communication, we built that respect, which allowed me to be like, oh, right. Like, this doesn't matter to me. I can feel your love and I can feel your support for me. So
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah. It's so needed, right? I think that's the thing. We have to be able to trust each other with the little steps so that we can then feel confident with the bigger steps. And I often will see folks just diving right in super quick of like, all right, I'm on the apps and I'm about to go on a date. And I'm like, ooh, what? Did you talk about stuff
Right.
first? Like, are we good?
Right.
One of my colleagues gave a good metaphor, because, you know, I'm horrible with
You are.
metaphors. And
You are.
I was too literal. She was talking about how opening up a relationship is like being pregnant, right? So you have 9 months of this gestational period to plan, to like get supplies, like think about what you want this life to look like, and prepare yourself that life after the baby is born is going to look different. Things are going to change. And that's not bad or good, it just is. And that's the same thing with opening up your relationship, is can you take the time to really prepare to have a solid foundation to do these conversations like you and Jim had, so that once you get there, you're like, okay, and knowing that at the beginning it's going to be bumpy, there are going to be things that you couldn't plan for, that you didn't know were going to happen, that you're in it together and that you are okay. So
you can't expect your relationship to stay exactly the same, right? Like, energy levels are going to shift, intimacy levels are going to shift, and that's why we always recommend having these conversations, going to see a therapist, right? Step into that vulnerable space, look at your attachment style, so then when you actually open up, you're pretty well set, and then it's just about navigating.